Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to the Transfer Window Show, where I'm not joined by Clayton this week because he's off in Egypt. The patrons think he's trying to get investment from the Public Investment Fund to get us some sponsorship. I can assure listeners, if that rumour goes around, it's not true. I'm instead delighted to be joined by a very good friend of the Planet FPL community, new dad, and leader of the man who has the one FPL tool that I cannot do without. It's fpl.team's Peter Featherstone. How are you, Peter?
Thank you very much. I'm good. Surprisingly awake for having a 10-year-old baby, but yeah, doing well.
A 10-year-old baby. It's gone quick,
Oh,
hasn't
sorry,
it?
10-day-old baby.
How is mum and baby? Well,
Yeah, doing well, recovering well, getting into a bit of a routine now with the baby, which means I said I've been able to sleep. It's actually been quite good for my sight because I kind of just put the baby on my chest and just kind of been working away on the site. So there's been a lot of changes recently. It's been quite good.
nice. Big congrats, mate, from all of us. Talk to us about the site then. For those who don't know what fpl.team is, what is it?
Well, it's funny. I was thinking about this because I knew I was coming on, and what it is. Because initially it was just a kind of a very simple planning tool when I first created it about 3 years ago. So the main part of the site is to basically visualize your team for future weeks. So obviously on the official site, you can only kind of see your team for the next week, and that's it. And a lot of people use spreadsheets. I used to use spreadsheets a lot, taking screenshots and stuff, and I just thought I wanted something that looked like the official website, so it was easy for people to use, but also allowed you to kind of plan your team for future weeks. So it lets you make transfers for all the weeks up to week 38 if you wanted to, make subs, plan your captains, all that sort of stuff. But like I said, it's evolved now where it's got like expected points prediction models, player stats filters, FDRs. It's got this really nice thing where you can have predicted fixtures. I don't know, this guy called James from Planet FPL who does that part, which is really cool. You can save drafts, you can compare drafts. There's like an assistant manager, director of football stuff that kind of suggests transfers over different time horizons, suggest your captains, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot going on now. It's kind of evolved quite naturally over the years.
I must stress, if you wonder what Peter meant there about predicted fixtures, I've projected blanks and doubles throughout the season already. And I must stress to everybody now that there is zero, and I mean 0% chance of that being correct. But I think it gives you an idea of where blanks and doubles will be and that little jazz. And also available on an app now as well.
Yeah, it's on iOS and Android. It's just like I said, having the baby, it kind of gave me a chance to, while he's kind of sleeping at night. I'm really nervous. I don't like when he's sleeping, I have to like check on him every 2 seconds because I'm
This
like
is normal,
so worried. Mate, but it just means I've been awake a lot. But it means I've been able to kind of work on the app and just do things in the meantime. Kind of just sleep in the day. So it's had a big kind of refresh overhaul literally a few days ago. So it's should be a bit smoother, look a bit nicer now.
It's great, mate. It's so good for the planning, that ability to look, because we get obsessed. So let's pick the best team, like as if that's going to be the best team for 38 weeks. That ability to just jump forward and say, well, will my team still look good if I start with this in game week 3 or 4, for example? And of course, you'll obviously make transfers, but you can plan those transfers as
Yeah,
part of
that's
the
it.
planner.
You don't want to suddenly get to week 6 or something. You go, oh crap, my team looks absolutely awful. You can either choose different players in the beginning that have got a nicer run, or you can plan those transfers like you said and program them into the website, and it will shows you all your hits and all the what's in your bank and all that sort of stuff. So it's fully featured.
Yeah, it also allows, I think, subject to the team you're picking, it doesn't seem clear paths at the moment for a first wild card and perhaps where that should be. You might start going, oh my God, if you go heavy Arsenal, Man City, you might go to game week 8 and go, oh,
Yeah,
that's
I've got
the
a
moment
problem
I
there.
need to wild card, for example. So, yeah, and then you can from there go, right, I'm planning for the first 7 game weeks, for example. So, yeah, brilliant tool. It's the one thing I can't do without, Peter. It's absolutely brilliant, mate. Thank you for putting it together for the community.
Well,
Talking
thank
of
you for the support,
transfers.
mate.
You're very welcome, mate. Talking of transfers, that's obviously our job today, is to talk about transfers. A little bit quieter in the transfer market, I'd suggest, over the last couple of weeks or so. I think there's a real pressure for certain clubs to get deals done before June 30th to comply with FFP legislations. Then the start of July tends to calm down when clubs come back to training. And you get certain teams where new managers probably want to assess certain players before they decide who they want to keep, get rid of, etc. So a little bit quieter at the moment. We've had a few deals go through, including one yesterday officially, although we kind of knew it was going to happen last week. Pau Torres has gone from Villarreal to Aston Villa, obviously Spanish centre back and left footed. And you said to me before we started, how much FPL are we going to talk about? And I said, well, we can bring it in as and where it's relevant, mate. Pau Torres is potentially going to have a big impact on Tyrone Mings, isn't he?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, he is a left-footed centre back, same as Mings. So whether he comes in and takes that position, I'm still not sure. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about potentially one of the centre backs moving out to right back instead of Matty Cash, because I think Emery likes to push the left fullback on in Moreno and leave the right fullback back. So there's not so much emphasis on the attacking necessity for the right-sided fullback. So I don't know if they end up playing Mings with Pau Torres and Konsa or Carlos. So I don't know. Let's wait and see, I guess.
There's competition there, and it's worth saying that I'm pretty sure Moreno might be a doubt for game week 1, and it might be that they do it the other way and play Mings or Torres as a left back that becomes left-sided centre back. They shunt it across and they push Matty Cash forward from right back. And it could be that if that's what we see in friendlies, I can see that trend going Matty Cash towards the start of the season. So I think it opens up the possibility where Villa might have a very defensive fullback at left back, as well as we've seen it at right back. Because when you look at the makeup of the squad, obviously you've got Luca Dean is obviously available and can do that same job as Moreno as well. But obviously Ashley Young has gone to Everton. So the right back position, in sense, it has suddenly become just Matty Cash, if you will. And the feeling we had towards the end of last season was that wasn't necessarily what he wanted to do there. So because Ashley Young was playing so much and playing quite well, it's worth saying as well. Yeah. So I think it's worth saying there's a number of 4.5 Villa defenders. All the focus seems to be on Mings at the moment, which is understandable after his performance last season. Well, I think he's one to avoid at the moment.
Yeah,
he might even be starter.
It would put me off big time, I think. I mean, Pau Torres seems like the perfect Emery centre-back. I mean, they had a lot of problems playing out the back last season. They kept trying to do it and they kept getting into a bit of trouble. Pau Torres seems like the perfect centre-back to be able to play that sort of system. I mean, he's played with Emery before, so he knows him well. They need more cover for Europe, so I don't know. There's going to be a lot more rotation there. I imagine Pau Torres would. I mean, the money he's coming in for, his stature in the game and all that, he's, I think, definitely going to be first choice. So
agreed.
It depends who plays alongside him, I think.
And I guess with that in mind, he won't come in at 4.5, will he? He'll come in at 5, I think.
I don't know, because they seem to be pricing up the centre-backs, a lot of them at 4.5, especially at these clubs like Villa. So, I don't know. I could see him being 4.5. I don't think any of the other Villa centre-backs are above 4.5, are they? So...
No, it's just Moreno, isn't it? But the shiny new toy does tend to get a little bit of a bump up quite often.
That is, and he's got a good reputation. Like you said, if they were going to play one at left back to start the season, as in left full back, he'd definitely be the one because he's very comfortable on the ball. I don't think he's got that much attacking threat per se, but he's good on the ball and comfortable on the ball, so he could do a good job there. I think he's a very good signing. He's a very Emery signing, I think. Good player.
My club looked at him a lot last summer, and I think they were asking too much at the time, but then we're looking for centre-back now, not gone back in, which is interesting.
Yeah, the only interesting thing is I used to live in Spain, so I've still got a lot of friends out there who are big in Spanish football. And I kind of asked about him in WhatsApp when he signed, and the kind of response was, yeah, he's decent, but there's about 1 million centre-backs like him in Spain. So, I don't know, they're quite blessed over there, I think, with ball-playing players in general. But
heritage, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, they were kind of like, he's just another decent centre-back. So, I don't know if we're overhyping him a bit, maybe. I'm not sure. We'll see.
It makes me question again, why has he gone to Villa? Why are the big clubs not coming? Maybe what you said. I should add to that, a few Villa fans responded to me last week about comments I made about Yuri Tielemans, with very good feedback, and suggested actually his family's very settled in the Midlands area. And that's potentially a big reason and pull for why he's actually joined Aston Villa. I think it was surprising people because he was linked with so many, let's say, Champions League regular clubs. Before we move on from Villa, obviously Ashley Young has departed. Did that surprise you, Pete?
Yes and no. I think it depends what Emery wants to do. Like I said, if he's planning to play one of these centre-backs at right back, maybe not. If he's not planning to do that, then it leaves him a bit exposed down that right side to any injuries. And they got Europe now, so it's a bit surprising they've let someone with that experience go. I mean, he's 38, so he's not no spring chicken, but he could still do a job in Europe or off the bench to give Matty Cash or whoever plays there a rest. So yes and no. I mean, Everton probably don't have much money, so getting him on a free transfer kind of makes sense for them, I guess. Although I'm not sure where he fits in with there. If he's going to play right back, they've got Coleman and Patterson there. Is he going to play on the wing? I don't know. I guess he's kind of a dicey player. He's got a lot of experience. He can be relied on, that sort of stuff. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think, look, he could play right back, left midfield, right midfield, and perhaps for a side like Everton, who will expect to have less of the ball than an Aston Villa, maybe could play one of the wide positions a little bit further on. I think that's a real trait about him that really appeals, is the fact that right back, left back, not a problem.
He can play anywhere, really.
And certainly Everton finished last season essentially with no fullbacks, basically, with Patterson, Coleman, and Mikalenko all unavailable. So it certainly needs some cover in that sort of area. I hear a lot of negativity from Everton fans about this signing. I think most recognise that it's an experienced head in the door, and most Everton fans understand that it's not going to be wild amounts of money being spent this summer. Do you see them being very active, Everton?
No, I mean, I don't know how much money they've got, but they've obviously had a lot of problems in the past. I think they need to be active, but I don't know if they can. Like I said, so it feels like Ashley Young is the type of signing they're going to make. Free transfers, experienced heads, just kind of settle them down a bit. Dyche kind of likes those kind of players. I don't see him going out and spending loads of money on big names, Pau Torres and players like that. So I think they just need to try and get through the next few years, and however they can.
Another club who we've spoke about recently about potentially selling, Wolves, have let a player go. Nathan Collins has joined Brentford on a permanent deal for a fraction more than what Wolves had bought him for from Burnley. Lost his place in the team at parts last year once Craig Dawson was brought in, but this felt like a surprising move to me, Pete.
Yeah, I was trying to work out why Brentford wanted him and why Wolves wanted to sell him. For that money as well, 23 million. I mean, I guess these days, I'm still back in the days where 5 million
right.
sounds
They
like
paid
a lot
20
of money
to get him, so
yeah, that's what I mean. Like these days, I'm still stuck in my head that 5 million is a lot for a player. 23 million is not actually that much anymore. Yeah, if I think Wolves, doing a bit of reading, it seems like Wolves kind of had to sell some players for FFP reasons, and it feels like the Collins sale kind of got them back on track, if you like. Like you said, he lost his place to Dawson and Kilman. So, I mean, if you're getting 23 million for a centre back who's sitting on your bench and you're Wolves and you've got FFP problems, it probably makes sense. He's 22. He won Irish. I think he got Irish Player of the Year last year. So
he's very good
player.
coming out with the ball. Actually, he just looks a bit. You kind of feel he'd look a bit uncompromised and uncomfortable when he does it, because he's a little bit like an old-fashioned centre back in the sense that the way he defends is like that. Actually, I was so impressed with him when his last away game for Burnley at White Hart Lane. We played in the middle of a back three in game week 37. We beat them 1-0, but he kept coming out from the back, and you don't expect that from a Burnley centre back. And I think it gives Brentford more ability, because I think where they've been a little bit fortuitous is in some of these bigger games they do like to play a back three rather than a back four, although in essence it becomes a back five. And they've struggled for numbers a little bit at centre back, but primarily they stayed fit last year, i.e. Ben Mee and Ethan Pinnock. But the third centre back was often Zanka. So I think he really wanted to add into that area. And Collins offers really good competition now with Mee and Pinnock for when it's going to be a back four. But I would expect, Brentford fans might tell me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine Collins and Mee, who obviously played together for Burnley, would become the first choice centre-back pairing in a back four, I should imagine.
Yeah, I think that's why it makes sense. I mean, Brentford, you kind of have to trust them a bit when they make signings. They kind of know what they're doing.
Know what they're doing.
And if you look at, like you said, the other centre-backs, I mean, Mee's 33, Pinnock's 30, Zanka's 33. They're not getting any younger. Nathan Collins comes in at a good age, 22. He can learn off or play alongside Ben Mee as well. I just think it makes sense for both teams, to be honest. Yeah, I think it's a decent signing. It's not like an amazing, incredible, game-changing signing, but it kind of makes sense, I think.
it now leaves Wolves a little bit like we'd mentioned about
Yes.
Max Kilman being linked with Napoli last week. We think that's probably a no-go, and Kilman will probably stay at Wolves now, but it leaves them in terms of their depth a little bit light. And one player they have been heavily linked with over the last 48 hours is a player I obviously know very well, the great, wonderful Matt Doherty is obviously another Irish defender. I've seen Bradley Parker, our Wolves correspondent, already been all over Twitter going, no, he can't play in a back four. Which is true. I can assure you, it doesn't really work. But he's obviously out of contracts and heavily rumored that he may go back to Wolves. It might mean that Nelson Semedo is another one that they possibly make money on. Thoughts on Doherty returning to Wolves?
I mean, this is why the Nathan Collins one confused me a little bit because Matt Doherty, like you said, cannot play in a back four. So if you're signing him, you probably want to play him as a wing back. But losing someone like Collins, and they've let Cody go as well, means there's probably no chance of them moving to a back three to allow him to play as a wing back.
I don't think they've got numbers to play back three regularly.
That's what I mean. They've lost 2 centre backs already. I don't see them bringing any more in. Like you said, talk of Kilman maybe leaving. Hopefully not, because he's a very good player. But yeah, I just don't really know where he fits in. It feels like they kind of always, well, since Doherty had left, they've kind of had problems in that position. Semedo's been a bit up and down. Johnny's had some very bad injuries and hasn't really got back to that level. So, don't know. It just feels like it's again, FFP problems, get someone in for free that we know he's got good experience, I guess, can provide backup. I don't know what it means for Johnny and Semedo, whether one moves on or if Doherty comes in as backup. I'm not sure.
Well, they're quite well stacked on the left-hand side, haven't they? If Johnny can obviously play that side. You've got Ray and Nate Norrie and Hugo Bueno obviously impressed when he came in last season as well. So I don't think they're particularly short on the left-hand side. Johnny's an aging player and they've obviously let a few go, like Sir Martinho, for example. Yeah, I'm concerned about them. I keep saying it and keep repeating it. I'm a little worried for them.
I think I'm more than a little worried for them. Just, yeah, doesn't look like they got much money to spend. They've lost incredible players that have been kind of keeping them above water, let's say. Yeah.
You know that if Doherty comes in at 4.5, though, that people talk about him for FPL, don't you?
Oh, wasn't he when he was at Wolves in his last season, wasn't he like 6.5 million?
Yeah, and I was going to, it was 6 million. I was going to start with him.
6 million.
Before
people wanted him then. And now, look, I mean, yeah, come back I think he would come back as a 4.5 because he's not.
Definitely.
Yeah, he's coming back to a very different Wolves. And yeah, I can't see him being more than that. I don't think I would have him in my team, but, that nostalgia pick maybe.
Yeah, that would it be. It's one of them. You put it up on fpl.team, see what it looks like, and go no. Just move to the next one. Another sign that's been completed on a free transfer is one for my team, Manor Soloman, who many of you would have obviously seen play for Fulham and had a brilliant little spell, sort of January, February, where it looked like he couldn't stop scoring and then got in the team and then was quite quickly out of the team. We think part of the reasons he came out of the team is this deal might have been in the pipeline for a number of months, actually. Technically, it's a free transfer. Shakhtar Donetsk want a fee by a tribunal, and I quite agree and suggest that they're entitled to one. I think Tottenham would do well to try and settle that without a tribunal and say, look, let's sit down. What can we do for you?
Yeah.
He's primarily left winger. He can play on the right, but fits the profile of Ange Postecoglou. Would really like his 2 wide players, i.e. to really hold the touchline, at least on one side. We're fairly confident. And Solomon's the sort of player who can do that. He's quite direct, wants to hit the byline, but likely to be understudy, would you think, Pete?
Yeah, I don't think he gets in your first team at all. I say he's fine for a free transfer. I say free transfer. You've already mentioned it. The CEO of Shakhtar's been quite vocal about, was it unjust enrichment he's called it?
Well, he thinks that club's owed about 80 million across various transfers.
I mean, it is quite unfair.
Yeah, no, it is.
But yeah, I guess for those that don't know, like obviously when the Ukraine war happened or the Russian war, players and Ukrainian clubs were allowed to kind of suspend their contracts essentially to go and get moves to clubs elsewhere so they could carry on. The trouble is UEFA or FIFA or whoever it is has extended that again, which means that Manor Soloman can basically move to Spurs for free this season. And I think his contract expires with Shakhtar during that period. So yeah, basically Spurs or a lot of clubs are benefiting from this and Shakhtar are basically getting nothing. It's a very, very strange situation, unprecedented, I guess. But yeah, in terms of where he fits in at Spurs, I mean, if we assume he's a left winger by trade, he's not getting in ahead of Son.
You wouldn't think so, but then I guess if Harry Kane did leave, and there's nothing to update you on the Harry Kane situation, by the way, so there's little point talking about it. But if he did leave, then if Son maybe went through the middle, that would potentially change the game there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Like you said, if Son did become the striker and it wasn't Richarlison or someone, and that left side did free up for someone like Soloman, we've seen he's got a good shot on him, can beat a man, he's exciting. He could come into our thoughts in FPL. I mean, if he was a starter on that left wing for Spurs every week at that price, I'd be interested.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to talk about one outgoing, which I think because of Chelsea's business with selling players has kind of gone a bit under the radar, but he's been a fantastic servant for Chelsea, and I think it's worth a mention. Obviously, Cesar Azpilicueta has gone to Atletico Madrid. How highly, it doesn't relate to the future, how highly do you rate him in terms of Premier League right backs over the last 30 years? Is he worth consideration of like a greatest ever Premier League team?
No, I don't. I don't think he has that wow factor, but I think he's one of those kind of Mr. Dependable guys. Like he's the kind of guy that will just give you 7, 8 out of 10 every week. He's a very good player. He's been over there for 10 years, I think. Came a captain. He's just a very solid, good right back. The problem is, I think with the modern game, with right backs that need to do a bit more, I think he's possibly a bit limited with that. Especially at someone like Chelsea, who, like, you look at Reece James, you look at Liverpool with Trent, players like that. He's not there, which is why I wouldn't put him in an all-time Premier League 11. But he's definitely if I had a Mr. Dependable Premier League 11, he'd probably be in there.
Best right back in Premier League history? I put him right on the spot there.
God, that's a lot of names to go through. I
Carl Walker?
I have to sit back. No.
I don't think his reaction was no.
I don't
Gary
think
Neville?
he's got. I mean, he would be higher up the list than a Walker or an Azpilicueta. I think Walker's similar-ish. Like, he doesn't have that attacking prowess. He's not a Trent or a player like that. But I guess
you say Trent? You can't say Trent yet. Surely not greatest of all time Premier League. Might prove to be it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as saying it now because he's still young. He's still got a lot to learn, and also as a defender, he's not actually that good. So, can you count
that's
him?
Why they keep putting him in midfield, mate.
Well, that's what I was saying. Can you call him the all-time best right back if he plays in centre midfield half the time? I don't think you probably can. Yeah, I'd have to sit down and think about that. Gary Neville is the one that always kind of pops up and comes to mind, but yeah, I don't know. I have to go away and think about it.
I think Carl Walker now. I think Carl Walker now, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. It's top level for 10 years, very rarely injured, consistent, has improved consistently. He used to be this player who's obviously had this massive weapon of pace, which obviously he still does do. But you think about him against Mbappe at the World Cup and stuff as well. We've debated Trent versus Reece James. You still think, for Jesus, in that situation, you still want it to be Carl Walker, for example. So there is speculation that City have possibly offered him a new 2-year contract as well. He's also available potentially. I know certainly that he would like to end his career at Sheffield United. One note on obviously Chelsea leaving. A player we haven't spoke about, and I wanted to bring him up. I don't know if you know anything about him, Pete. Malo Gusto, right back, who they got from Lyon. He's 4.0, and it's one I must confess had completely passed me by, really. And obviously, if Reece James isn't available game week 1, and let's be honest, he's Reece James, so he might not be available game week 1.
Or game week 2
that's
or 3 or 4.
That's a 4.0 defender, and he'll probably start, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised by that pricing, especially, like I say, with Azpilicueta leaving. I think that's probably why they let him go as well, because Malo Gusto's come in and seems like he's going to be the backup to Reece James. He looks like an exciting player. He looks, like I said about Azpilicueta, not really having that attacking prowess that they kind of need. It seems like Malo Gusto definitely does. And if Reece James was out, I do think he probably would be the guy that comes in. So if Reece James has one of these 2-3 month hamstring injuries or something, Gusto probably is in every team at that point. I was surprised they put him at that price.
Let's talk about some of these linked with being moved away from Chelsea. Romelu Lukaku, we think the latest word is potentially offer of around about 27.5 million. I think Chelsea fans are probably at the stage now that they just drive him there. He was supposedly meant to come back to training this week. That's got pushed back to next Monday, I believe. And the thinking behind that is, I think with him, Hakim Ziyech and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, he's keep them away until the first team squad go on tour, and also hoping between now and then Chelsea can get deals where these players are sold. Lukaku coming back to Chelsea, it's going to rank now as one of the worst Premier League transfers of all time, isn't it?
Was it 100 million they paid for him?
It's near enough, wasn't it? I don't know if it was quite that. It was very close, I think.
And they're going to lose about 75 million odd on him,
and got nothing out of him other than
a
couple of decent games when he rejoined, and then an interview with him saying he wanted to go back to Inter Milan. So
I remember everyone when he went back to Chelsea, or when he went to Chelsea and he had
get him in
games, and everybody's like signing. He scored a couple of goals, and it was like, you got to get him, and then he was an absolute flop. It's a shame because I still think he's a good player, or at least there's a good player in there. Like, he's got all the attributes really for the Premier League, you would have thought, but.
Are you surprised, therefore, that, I mean, it might be wage related as well, that other Premier League clubs have not looked at just trying to remove him out of that situation, or perhaps he just wants to be in Italy?
Yeah, like you say, you don't know what the agent's saying, what the player's saying. Maybe he's just saying, look, I want to move back to Italy, so I don't even bother. But yeah, I'm surprised someone hasn't come in for him. I don't know if the wages, maybe I can't see him going to any of the big sides that could possibly pay those wages, but I mean, United need a striker.
They've done that route. It didn't work, mate.
Oh, I know. They're probably kind of running out of clubs. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a shame. I still feel like there's something in there, but it's just not worked out. But then no striker at Chelsea for a while was kind of worked out.
I can't see, for example, say, obviously, again, if Kane did leave, I can't see Tottenham suddenly going, we'll take him for you. I don't see
just
it,
play Son or Richarlison. I think they're better anyway. So, yeah.
Aubameyang's obviously been linked away, and Ziyech, strong links with both of those players, Saudi Arabia.
They can't get rid of Ziyech, can they?
Well,
they keep trying.
He failed a medical somewhere, didn't
he? Yeah, and he didn't get the paperwork done when he went to PSG the season before. Yeah. So they're trying to get rid of him, but they just can't.
Christian Pulisic looks like he's on the way out as well. 22 million deal, I think, agreed for AC Milan. That's probably about 95% done. He's obviously been unfortunate with injuries, but he looked like he had all the talent in the world to kind of become the heir apparent to Eden Hazard's throne, basically. And just another one, it's just not happened, has it?
It's a shame for him. Like you said, he looks like he's got the talent, the ability. He's still young. He's only 24. So he's, if he can get himself sorted, new environment, maybe it could work out for him. But yeah, it just never really worked at Chelsea. The injuries kind of stopped that from happening.
You think Chelsea spending is dependent on getting these 3 or 4 players out of the club to get that off the wage bill so they can go in heavy again? Because it's a little bit calmer than it was in January, for example.
Yeah, I think the main one they're kind of looking at the moment is Caicedo. I think he would be perfect for Chelsea as well. I think he would sit next to Enzo perfectly. They kind of complement each other very well. So I think, yeah, if you look at, apart from Pulisic, the ages of the players going out, Azpilicueta's 33, Lukaku 30, Aubameyang 34, Ziyech 30. It seems like Bolly's trying to sign all these players, like Caicedo around 21, 22 years old, even younger for the future. Yeah, I don't know if it's dependent on them going out, but like I said, I don't know the internal financials at Chelsea, but yeah, I don't know. I can still see them signing Caicedo no matter what, but if it's within their budgets.
Well, it's speculation that Brighton, because they've allowed Alexis McAllister to go, and obviously let Leandro Trossard go in January, have said, look, this is the asking price, which we think could even be sort of 90 million plus. And again, that's it. You either hit it or you don't. I think a lot of us think that deal will probably happen. Caicedo supposedly, I think he was cornered, in fairness. You might have seen quotes knocking about, but I think he was cornered while he was on holiday or something and asked by an interviewer, like, would you like to go? And I think that the interpretation has been like, I wouldn't be able to say no. Rather than, yeah, I definitely want to go there.
Yeah.
Which I think that's probably, as you could interpret that as in, well, would Brighton have to say yes before he's put in a position? So I'm not necessarily sure that I wouldn't say desperate to get out, because he knuckled down after the January links and played well towards the end of the season again. But I think most of us think that transfer will still happen.
Yeah, I don't think from Caicedo's side he's desperate to leave. Although I do not worry about Brighton because they seem to find these magic players from everywhere. But losing McAllister and Caicedo, that's a big part of your midfield gone overnight. And you can't. Obviously, their recruitment team is very good, but it's very difficult to keep replacing these players year after year after year. I would be a bit worried, but from Chelsea's point of view, I think Caicedo would be a great signing. Good age, good profile, fits that midfield well, works well, would work well with Enzo, I think. And they would be together for years to come. I think Enzo's only 22, Caicedo's only 21, so
Yeah.
could be their midfield for the next 10 years.
But they're a bit light in that area now, though, because obviously
Yeah.
Ruben Loftus-Cheek has left as well. And Conor Gallagher's also been linked with a number of clubs and a potential move. I think that is probably dependent on Caicedo coming in. Rumour is, from what I hear from Tottenham ITKs, is that Tottenham are going to go in. But Tottenham and Chelsea have never done business together for quite a while. And the fee reported of 50 million feels a little high to me. So that's not one I foresee happening. I know Gallagher wants to stay at Chelsea. He's made that clear on several occasions.
Where he would fit in. I mean, if you've got Caicedo, Enzo, and Nkunku would probably be the three in midfield. I don't see Gallagher getting in ahead of any of them three.
Do you describe Nkunku as midfield?
Well, like
I know
as
what
a
you're saying,
10
more like
kind
a
of
10,
thing,
yeah.
like a two sitters and
Yeah.
and then Nkunku as a 10 as a kind of a free. I don't see Gallagher getting in ahead of any of them three. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think that's why they want to go for Caicedo though, because I do think they're quite light. They've lost Mount as well, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I think Caicedo would probably be top of my list if I was Chelsea person.
Let's talk goalkeepers. A few names I want to bring up with you. David De Gea has left Manchester United. Now, the reports were, depending on what you believed, that supposedly De Gea was offered a new contract, accepted it, but Manchester United never put pen to paper on their end. Then rumour of legend is that they went back and offered him reduced terms and like, what are you doing? And they obviously want to get a new goalkeeper in. Firstly, on De Gea, United legend or not?
I think so. I mean, if I look back, I mean, Man United fans probably watch him week in, week out and scrutinise him a bit more than I would. But my memories of De Gea have always been an amazing shot stopper. Saved them multiple times in games. It's just we all know that his weaknesses are playing out from the back and with his feet. I mean, we saw the Europa League, the massive mistakes he made. He's made quite a few mistakes this season from simple shots. The Benrahma one comes to mind. I think Brentford, he made some mistakes. Like, I don't remember that being part of his game in years gone by, but maybe they were.
Change of manager, isn't it, in terms of the distribution, certainly.
Yeah, but even the shot stopping, like that Benrahma shot should never have gone in.
Yeah.
Other things like that. Just, I don't remember that being part of his game, but maybe, history, you kind of forget these things. But
I think my take would be yes, he is. I want to say he's made more appearances for United than both Edwin van der Sar and Peter Schmeichel. And I think it's okay to think that and also think that it's time to move on. Like I'm going through a similar thing with Hugo Lloris at Tottenham at the moment, who's obviously very likely to leave.
It's just that the new style doesn't fit his style of play, and that's unfortunately what's happened. But he's still a very good goalkeeper, I think.
No, but one who does is the potential replacement, Andre Onana of Inter Milan. For if anyone watched the Champions League final, guy wants to play in midfield, doesn't he? He's absolutely great and very brave.
Yeah, I love watching him play. He looks really exciting. I mean, if you could find the opposite of David De Gea in terms of ball playing, it would probably be Onana. He, like you said, he likes to step into defensive midfield and be a defensive playmaker from at times. It feels like for how Ten Hag wants to play, it feels like he would be almost the perfect signing. It kind of just pushes the team up about 5 or 10 yards to start with and gets you up the pitch a bit more. Whereas, I feel like if they can get him, it's kind of a...
Well, he'll obviously know him well because they worked together at Ajax as well, which, as everybody knows, I have no recollection at all of them playing together for Ajax. So I think it fits, doesn't it? It fits the profile completely. And we think that deal's probably going to happen. Quite sizable for a goalkeeper. Sort of 45, 50 million or so seems to be the numbers getting bandied about. But I mean, probably at the stage of thinking that deal would happen. If it does, presumably that frees up Dean Henderson potentially to go back to Nottingham Forest. I know Mark Southerns, when Forest got Keylor Navas in January, Mark had said he thought a deal was probably on the table for Henderson just to sign at the end of the season. It feels to me like the Henderson deal is probably just subject to Onana going through to make sure United have got their goalkeeper in place. And then obviously Forest can have theirs. But it has been strong links for Forest over the last couple of days with another Wolves outgoing and Jose Sarr, who had a brilliant first season with Wolves, not such a good second season.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened there last season. He said he was amazing. I don't know if he was a top point scorer in FPL the first year he was there. I can't remember, but he's very good goalkeeper, good shot stopper. But this season he's kind of lost his way a bit, and I couldn't tell you why that's happened. I mean, he lost his, not sure he lost his place or just got taken, or just got taken out of the team for Bentley, is it? The end of last season. Yeah, it's strange on that. I mean, Forest need a keeper. I think Navas has left now, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't think he's re-signing.
It's only Wayne Hennessy on the books.
Well.
And you know, they're definitely going to do something for Forest.
Yeah, they need one. Like you said, Sarr or Henderson, take your pick. Sarr can be amazing on his day. Henderson too. I mean, Henderson's younger. Whether that matters or not, I don't know. Yeah, it would make sense for one of them two to sign. But again, Wolves losing more players. I'm not sure what they would do then. Would they rely on Bentley as their first choice? Would they go and sign someone?
Don't know. I know you'll know obviously a few of the guys in Slack, not convinced about him from what they've seen in lower leagues previously. But I mean, it's 4.0 goalkeeper. Everyone would be all over it if he was to start the season as Wolves number one. Suddenly it make Wolves interesting in FPL with Bentley and Doherty as starters.
Oh, you get Bentley and Areola as two. We could have the 4.0 rotating
we can have
again.
The Ward and Everson dream again. Yeah. And while we're there, official FPL, if you happen to be listening, can we have a price for Cunha, please? Thank you. Pete and I both did a little bit of similar research on one player we were about to mention, because Forest has been heavily linked with a deal for PSV midfielder Ibrahim Sangare, who I must confess I didn't know a lot about, and then did the usual, had a little look on YouTube, and I can report that he's a future Ballon d'Or winner. What do you think, Pete?
100%. He looks absolutely incredible. I mean, if you put him in like FBref as well, he's like green 90 percentile for absolutely everything. It's unreal. Yeah, I mean, officially he's a defensive midfielder, but I would say he's a lot more than that. It looks like he can shoot, he can pass, he can dribble, he can tackle, he can do absolutely everything. I mean, if you put his name in Google as well, it looks, I mean, I don't remember this, but it looks like he's been linked to like every club under the sun in the last couple of years. So it does make you wonder why no one's signed him before. What's the
and why not now if he's available?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I said, it's one of those ones where I don't want to get too excited because like you said, put his name in YouTube because I haven't really heard of him before, and he looks like the best player I've ever seen. But they all do on YouTube, so yeah, the fact that no one else has come in for him makes me wonder why.
YouTube, I'll give you a couple of perfect examples. Brian Hill, look at that on YouTube. I thought we'd bought Messi, mate. Yeah. Emerson Royal, Cafu.
Yep.
Like Cafu. And Ibrahim Sangare looks like a cross between, I would say, a Patrick Vieira regen, and also reminded me quite a bit of João Paulinho, actually. That ability of that long stride to be able to win tackles, and Sangare looks like he's a better ball carrier as well. Actually, I didn't see much in the clips of his range of sort of long passing and stuff, but it looks like short stuff, and obviously wants to carry and drive the team forward. On the face of it, if it happens, it looks like an outstanding signing.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, that's the problem when you put his name in. I said the FBref, he just looks like he's a completely all-round quality midfielder. You put him in YouTube and he looks like an all-round quality midfielder. I mean, top level elite midfielder. So then you start to question why have other clubs not followed up on their interest in him? Is there something scouts have uncovered, attitude problems or something? I don't know, but yeah, it feels like if he's available and they can get him, it's kind of a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, they didn't settle with what they had in there last year in midfield. He chopped and changed too much. He's someone who'd come in. I'd suggest if it happens, by the way, for the Sky listeners, he might be one really to keep an eye on for those potential tackle tiers and that early Nottingham Forest single game day. Another player Forest have been linked with overnight is Willian, who does have an offer on the table to obviously sign up again from Fulham. But reports are that Forest have offered him a 2-year deal, and that might tempt him. Thoughts on that as a potential move?
Yeah, I will admit I don't follow Forest that closely, but I assume Brennan Johnson was playing kind of on that wide right last year. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I think, to be honest, Willian had played more on the left, really, for Fulham last year. And actually did pretty well. I know a lot of people, particularly Arsenal fans, he had a bad spell at Arsenal. A lot of Arsenal fans were like, to finish. Actually, he did all right for
I
Fulham
thought he was all right.
last year.
I mean, there was a lot of people bringing him into his teams towards the end of the season. I think when they had their doubles and stuff, there was a few people that were getting on Willian because, he's still a good player. He can dribble well. He's got a good shot. He's on a few free kicks and stuff. Like, he's a decent player. He's getting on again, 34, 2-year deal to 36. I guess. I mean, how many more players does Forest need? But I don't know if he goes into the first team or not. I guess Mark would know
Depends
more
on system, I guess.
Yeah.
It's an experienced player, isn't he? He's won it all at the top
Yeah, I mean, he's a good
level.
player to have. Same as like Ashley Young we talked about earlier. He's a good player to have around the place for some of the young players.
Obviously, if that does go through, it means Fulham will have lost Willian and Manor Soloman from their squad last year. And it's worth saying on the other side, obviously, didn't see much of Harry Wilson last year, who also performed quite well towards the end of the season. Have been linked this morning with Callum Hudson-Odoi, another potential departure from Chelsea, who's a name me and Suj mentioned on Tuesday's England London 21 podcast. There's a perfect example of a player who looks like he's got the world at his feet, and for one reason or another, not quite happened. Thoughts on that potential move across West London?
I was surprised when I looked at Hudson-Odoi because I remember him being linked with was it Bayern Munich and stuff, big money years ago,
major money for
massive money, and Chelsea turned it down. He was, like you said, world at his feet, going to become one of the top wingers in the game. It just hasn't really happened for him. But I was surprised to see he's only 22 still. It feels like his name's been mentioned for many, many years.
Yeah.
So he's still got that opportunity to make something of himself. He's got the potential, let's say. So it feels like a good signing for someone like Fulham, I think, to bring him in as kind of a replacement for Willian and just give him his chance, basically, to show people what he can do.
And before we finish, a couple of more outgoings to discuss. Not confirmed as yet. Ilman and Dye of Sheffield United. It's interesting reflecting on conversation I had with Ben Thompson, our Sheffield United correspondent after promotion. He said, look, a year left on his contract. If the money comes in and it's right, then there's every chance that he might go. We think he looks like he wants to go to Marseille in Liga, and that would be a massive blow to the Blades if it goes through. And the concern with them is obviously takeover not completed. We don't know what they're doing in terms of incomings. How concerned would you be for Sheffield United if that deal goes through and they don't replace?
Big time. I mean, he's a big part of their squad. I was looking at a few Sheffield United fans forums, and a lot say he's kind of the difference between staying up and not staying up next season. So to lose him would be massive. The problem with Ndai is that he's a big Marseille fan. So as soon as they come calling, it's very hard for him to turn down. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a quote. Apparently, he said he was an Olympic Marseille fan, and he dreams of going back there to become a Marseille legend, and he can't stop thinking about it. So
well, there you go.
When you hear your player say that, and the team is bidding for him, it becomes quite a difficult situation. 1 year left on his contract as well. I could see him leaving, which would be a massive blow for Sheffield United. I don't know how you replace him. And the money's not even that big. I think they've offered 12 million. I think Sheffield United won about 17. I don't know how good a player you even get as a striker in a Premier League these days for that money.
I'd say what I'm really concerned about for them as well is their opening few fixtures are quite decent. Like they play Palace, Forest and Everton in the first 4. Admittedly, Man City's in there as well, but there's an opportunity for points there quite early.
Yeah.
Then the window shuts and their fixtures get much tougher. So if they're going to end up doing business right towards the end of the window, they might really miss an opportunity like Fulham did a few years ago, where it's a good start, and the squads or teams not really ready to compete at Premier League level. So I think they've got to do something quite quickly. And it wouldn't be a transfer window show at the moment without mentioning some of the links with Saudi Arabia. I'd like to say, by the way, for those getting excited about Ronaldo's team, Al Nassr, getting a transfer embargo. Basically, they owe Leicester City, ironically, a very minimal amount of money, which is like me giving Pete 20p for money on a transfer for Ahmed Musa. And as soon as they pay it, the transfer embargo will probably be lifted. So they might be back in action within a couple of days. But one of the clubs out there, one of the PIF-owned clubs, Al Hilal, have been linked with 25.5 million bid for Fulham's Aleksander Mitrovic. My first instinct was that's not enough money anyway.
No, I think he's still got 2-3 years left on his contract as well.
I'm not sure of his contract status, to be honest.
I think it was still 2026, I think I read. So it's not like you said, like he's got a year left and then kind of cash in. It doesn't feel like a lot. I mean, he scored, what, 14 Premier League goals last season? He missed 4 penalties in part of that. And he was injured, or suspended, I should say, for a big part of it as well. So, I mean, he could have got to 20 goals as a Premier League striker. That's worth a lot of money. I was talking about
you ain't replacing that with the same amount of money, are you?
No, that's what I was saying. Replacing Ndiaye with 12, 17 million, you're not going to get a player for that money. And 25 million doesn't buy you a potentially 20 Premier League goal striker. So I don't think it's enough money. Fulham would absolutely hate to lose him because Vinicius isn't at his level. I know they played around with playing other players in that position, but yeah, they wouldn't replace Mitrovic for that money.
There are some who think he wants to go, and that's possibly linked to obscene wages they're getting bandied about. I don't know what Mitrovic has been offered, but what we do know is what Jordan Henderson has been offered, which he's somewhere subject to reports, but between sort of 600,000 and 700,000 pounds a week. It sounds like Al Ettifaq were hoping to get him on a free transfer. Liverpool want around about 10 million. But it does sound like either way, it's probably going to be up to Henderson whether he wants to go or not. Thoughts?
I mean, that money is insane.
It is mind-blowing, isn't it?
It's just ridiculous. I mean, if someone puts that money in front of you, it's like...
At the end of your career, near enough.
Yeah, that's it.
It's not to say he's finished. He's still a first-choice player for England, but in terms of top level, you'll know he's not long left.
That's what he needs to weigh up. I mean, getting to the end of his career, we've got Rice and Bellingham at England, and then depending on what we do with Trent in midfield, his time at the top level is coming to the end, and he will know that. And a chance to earn £600,000 a week, play every week. I know it's in Saudi Arabia. I'm not going to get to the moral side of things, but
we've done that on Patreon all week, so you don't have to.
I'm not going to get into that side of it, but from a purely financial and football side of things, it would be tempting. But at the same time, he's still Liverpool captain. I assume he still can offer something at the top level, even if it is as a sub. He's already at what, 200 grand a week as it is. For me, that feels like that's enough money. Why do you need any more? But people are greedy and always want more. So who am I to tell him?
But it is mind blowing. It's not just more money, is it? And it's also, if he was to leave Liverpool and say like what James Milner's done, he's not going to get the same wage at Brighton as he's getting at Liverpool now, right? So there's a lot to weigh up, as there might be for Liverpool as well, not just Henderson, but reports in the last couple of hours, Al Ittihad looking to make a bid for Fabinho of around about 40 million as well.
That one feels different because I know Fabinho wasn't his greatest last year, but it still feels like Fabinho's got a lot to offer for many years in the first team at Liverpool. So that one, from a purely footballing perspective, I'd quite like him to turn it down. I mean, I'd like them all to turn it down, but you can't. Like you said, if I offered you to quadruple your wages tomorrow, you move to Saudi Arabia, like that, there is a debate to be had.
Yeah. As Such told me this morning, he said, if I get offered 10 times the wage, I'm off, James.
Yeah,
like, thanks,
exactly that.
And the Planet FPL. I said, to be honest, he said to me, would you think about leaving your family and stuff? I said to me, it's the first thing I was thinking of is how am I going to get to Tottenham? That's the first thing I was thinking about.
But that's the thing, people forget they are, at the end of the day, they are
humans
doing a job that only lasts 15 years, maybe. They got to take the chances that they're given, I guess.
And with that in mind, on the human element as well, I've not watched the overlap interview yet with Gary Neville and Dele Alli, but I know there's plenty have already, and I said it's quite an emotional watch.
Yeah.
I intend to watch that alone because I suspect there probably will be tears. If anybody's affected by what they watch from that today or later on, as per usual, my DMs are always open for anyone who's affected by that or affected in life. But on a brighter note, Peter, thank you very much. Where can everyone follow you on the Bird app, etc., mate?
fpl.team _. I hate the underscore, but FPL team without underscores is already taken, so I've got no choice. So
is it taken?
It's really annoying. It's got like
that.
No posts, no followers.
No, there's a Planet FPL out there.
It's so annoying.
Who gets tagged about one time a year because someone forgets to put the pod in, and they haven't tweeted for about 5 years. I'd love to get rid of them. Yeah,
I keep like reporting the account to get it suspended and stuff to try and get it, but it's not happening. It's just really annoying. But yeah, FPL team _. And obviously the website is fpl.team.
Good stuff. And download the app, everyone. It's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you.
Clayton will be back with me for the transfer window show next Thursday, subject to making it back safely from Egypt. Tomorrow, I'll be recording my Ask James live stream scheduled for 12 p.m. UK time on YouTube for people who want to join in and ask questions. And that'll be available as an audio podcast afterwards as well. Just leaves me to say thank you so much, Pete. For the benefit of those on the audio, cue music, please, man child.